All right, what's up, you guys? Welcome to this impromptu Sunday live stream. Sunday. How is everybody doing today? My apologies for not being able to stream in the past week. It's been quite a hectic ride, but here we are. For those that are joining pretty much way later, thank you so much for joining. Those who are going to be watching later, thank you so much for watching later. Those that are in the chat right now, thank you guys so much for joining on this lovely, freaking abysmal 97-degree Sunday. So if you guys see me sitting here in the dark, yes, the AC is on, but it's just cooler when the lights are a little bit more dimmer, so whatever, it is what it is. However, how is everybody doing today? We're going to be covering over the topics of YOJOEJUNE's week 3 and 4. Technically, there is, a couple of days left over for June, next, starting tomorrow on Monday. So we'll probably see the HasLab Snowcat unboxing. So then we'll have a SHARKNEWZ video talking about that, and it should be great. Other than that, it's been the past 3 or 4 weeks for YOJOEJUNE have been pretty great. I will say this has surprisingly been probably my favorite YOJOEJUNE, just because we barely had any leaks. We barely had any spoilers. It was like, we just had to deal with Tony and Lenny leaving, and we had to see BMAC pretty much do roughly everything on his own. Dan Larson, Toy Galaxy, was kind of just there. So I think it's just one of those things where, I've seen a lot of Toy Galaxy videos, and, he's very, he knows his figures, he likes collecting and stuff like that. But I feel like when you are on a live stream with Hasbro, I think that's when things become a bit challenging, because it's more like a corporate kind of thing. You can't really act yourself, or you can't really, you got to have like some type of, I'm sure, NDAs to sign and all that stuff. So, anyways, so BMAC did a pretty good job this year. And compared to the past 2 years, where like, figures were just leaking left and right, everyone had their own speculations, and, things were just kind of getting out of control. At least this time it was extremely transparent. They told us, at least we kind of got the idea of the order of render 1 week, pre-order the next week, some name reveals. Although I think week 3 we had no name reveals. However, they made it up for week 4. And yeah, I mean, otherwise it was a pretty smooth sailing YOJOEJUNE. Like it wasn't anything for me to be like, holy crap, like, this is the greatest YOJOEJUNE ever. It was just like, okay, like this was actually a really good YOJOEJUNE. Like I was actually pretty happy about it. Like a lot of pretty decent reveals. And it's more so one of those things where we're at this point in Classified where, the Joe team is heading into the 90s era. These are basically all leftover or the final designs from Lenny and Tony, because, they're going to announce the brand new designer at San Diego Comic-Con, and I believe, whatever he or she or whatever, whoever it is going to be, their designs will probably not be into effect for figures until like late 2027, because BMAC did say like we still have all of Lenny and Tony's designs up until like mid 2027. So we still have all these designs from them. So the Classified line should be thriving for quite some time. Otherwise, after mid 2027, I don't know what the designs are going to be, because at this point in Classified, we've reached an era where a lot of the favorite 80s characters have roughly been made. I mean, there's really not so. I mean, realistically, there's like tons and tons of versions of Snake Eyeses and Storm Shadows and Dukes and Cobra Commanders, Destros, and all that stuff. Scarlets and Baronesses and whatnot. It's just one of those things where it's like, how many, like, they're always welcome, but how much more could we really have before we actually complete the entire line, So other than that, yeah, I mean, I thought the week 3 and 4 was pretty good. So let's give a huge shout out to everyone here in the chat. Let me scroll up real quick. We have Christoph Black, first person here in the chat. We have JB, welcome. We have, of course, the legend Alan, welcome. Russell Terrell, another legend here. Pretty much everyone's legends now. All these names are very familiar. Um, we have, who do we have here? Zed Burns, welcome. We have Timothy James, welcome. Michigan Jedi, nice name. We have, who else do we have here? Wilfredo Diaz, welcome, welcome. Ionic Blood and Wilfredo and Derek Holloman, all legends of the channel here, alongside everyone else I just mentioned, including Mr. Madgus, hell yeah. GI John, hell yeah. Definitely great supporters of the channel. Who else here? We have Chris Bouchard. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining, as well as Chris. And we have Johnny from Ireland. Hell yeah. Shout out to Johnny, man. Always showing support from Ireland. That's going to be great. Russell asks, I'm surprised they didn't do a Snowcat unboxing during YOJOEJUNE. Well, technically, let's be honest, we're still in June. We still got like 4 days or 3 days or whatever. So I'm sure like an unboxing could happen either tomorrow or Tuesday, you know, maybe. If not, they'll probably do it sometime in July before the Comic-Con events. Title Manashir, welcome, welcome. We have Paul's Monk. Oh man, you told me this username before. I don't know how I can forget this. Shoot, I totally forgot how to pronounce it. I'm sorry, man. Welcome, Paul. Thank you so much for joining. Holy shit, Liquid Identity with the Canadian 20 bucks. Thanks for staying on top of YOJOEJUNE news and updates all month long. Well, thank you so much for those $20, man. I really do appreciate that, man. That really does mean a lot to me. It was actually very much fun, man. Like, you guys already have read the post tab page where I talked about GI Joe and, like, you know, bonding with my father and stuff like that. So, like, again, I just want to, like, quick before we get into all the figures, because there's a lot of figures to go over today. I just want to wait like maybe 2 or 3 more minutes, and we'll just let a few more people to join. You know, it's just one of those things where you just have to put it in my perspective, right? Like, you're a little kid, you're playing with GI Joes. Your father takes you to Toys R Us. He buys you GI Joes. You sit with him at Burger King. You're like this little baby shark, and you're talking to your dad, and you're just like, yeah, this is this character, this is a guy, he's a ninja, he's this and that, and you know, whether my dad cared or not was a different story, but you know, he was always fascinated with my excitement for these action figures. And then here I am, like, you know, so many years later, and I'm actually like sitting here on YouTube talking to all of you guys, you know, with like, whether it was the Artist Shark with 15,000 subscribers, or it was this channel with, now we hit like 3K, like, even then, like, that's still a lot of people, right? So talking to all of you guys about GI Joes is definitely the greatest. It's the greatest feeling in the world, man. So thank all of you guys for being here and sticking with me, man. Like, it really does mean a lot, and I appreciate it. It would have been terrible if I had just given up, but a lot of you sent emails, messages saying like, don't give up, make another channel, keep going, and thanks to you guys, I'm, you know, here I am and still, you know, enjoying. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. But thank you, Liquid Identity, for those 20, man, making me go back memory lane. We have Ralph Vader guy here. He says, hey, Sharkites. He has a different channel name. Welcome, welcome. Oh, I did read your comment, Ralph Vader guy. You said you were using an ad-free account. Welcome. NorCal, welcome. He says, you're the man, Shark. No, you're the man. Thank you so much for joining. Benny says, let's get it. Happy to be part of the live tonight. Yes. Thank you all for joining. I know there's going to be quite some people joining in way later, but let me see. I'm just going to wait like maybe 1 or 2 more minutes, and then we'll get started. Whoever joins later will be great. But thank you, NorCal. Thank you, Liquid. Thank you, Benny. Smoke, how's it going? Says, yo, Shark. We have Locks and Gangster. Okay, I got it. Thank you. Ford says, my father never understood why Blowtorch wore those colors into battle. Yeah. We can question a lot of GI Joe color schemes, but I think that's what made it really fun, right? Like, unless you're someone that's really hardcore into the collecting of strictly just military style, then there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, I kind of like the whole concept of these different uniforms and different color themes, and just like, you know, it just makes like this whole faction really cool. Chris Bouchard says, hey, Shark, did you see the new Savage Crucible figures from Joe Fest? I absolutely did. It was pretty interesting. They revealed some humans too, which I'll share my thoughts about it on the other extra channel. But I'm gonna wait till Savage Crucible releases like official photography for those figures, and then I'll go more into depth about it. But I will talk about those at some point, so stay tuned for that. But yes, I did see those Chris Bouchard. Joe Fest was pretty interesting, man. A lot of crazy new reveals. Kai Trucking, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Miss says, "What's up, Shark?" with the shark emojis. Johnny says, "Thank you for not giving up. Your channel is awesome. I look forward to watching your content." Well, thank you so much for watching all the way from Ireland, Johnny. Like that's freaking amazing. Thank you so much. All right, so we have a lot of figures to talk about. Jason says, "When are the paranoid people from Savage coming?" I believe it was supposed to be like quarter 3 or quarter 3 of 2026. So it should be out sometime in the next like month or two, I suppose. If you go on their website, they have a whole timeline of Savage Crucible releases. The third wave is still available. I mean, like it's still on the timeline for quarter like 3, I think. I did pre-order the Harbinger Abyss figure. Like, man, I cannot wait for that guy. It's so damn cool. Nunya 3 Knuckle says, "I never minded the colors on the Joes, but I don't like it when Cobras wear green camo." Um, I mean, yeah. I mean, Cobras were always fascinating, right? Because Cobras were like, in the beginning, they were always like that whole blue and red aesthetic, but then eventually they just became so wacky and colorful where at that point I started to not mind the colors. I kind of stopped more about the design aspect. Like if the figure looked cool, then I bought it, and I didn't really care if the design was or if the color scheme was wild. As long as the figure looked cool, I would use my imagination and just kind of enjoy it. So that's kind of how I grew up, playing with action figures. I would always like mix and match like Leonard figures, GI Joes, and like other knockoffs and other stuff like that. Ford says the Hama figure's on point. Yeah, Larry Hama's getting his own figure, man. Good stuff. Have I checked out the Hummer from Gridiron Studio? I really need to do a video on Gridiron Studios and like everything they've done so far. I'm like so like slacking on that. Like I really want to talk about it. I'm just so behind. All right. Here we go, guys. Let's go ahead and talk about YOJOEJUNE week 3 and 4. Before we begin, make sure you guys hit those like and subscribe button. I really do appreciate it. Thank you guys for joining on this Sunday, and those who are going to be joining later on. And thank you again, Liquid Identity, for the channel donation. Great start to Sunday. All right, so here we go. Let's start. So in week 3, we're gonna backtrack a bit. In week 3, we had 2 pre-orders. And let's talk about the eye candy, or should I say the eyesore of the reveal so far, which was none other than the Legacy Series Avalanche Response figure. Jason says, "Watch your quality control on the Don Marino figure. Some gummy legs, missing knee pads." Oh man. Yeah, I still need to get the Don Marino figure and the Snake Eyes version 4. I'm gonna get that at some point, and because I'm still collecting the ninjas. Kubaz Enigma, welcome, says, "Hey Shark." So, how do you guys feel about this particular figure? Once again, I do want to reiterate that I totally and 100% understand why and the reason they went with this color scheme. It 100% is valid. It makes sense. However, it's just one of those things where I think collectors would have been upset or pissed off to a certain degree if they had released this figure in white, even though I would have preferred it to be white. I think collectors would have been like, "Oh, it's just a repainted snow job, just a different whatever, cash grab kind of thing." So I think they would have, like as much as I would have wanted a white version of this character, I think the orange just kind of, gives it that, the Legacy Series aesthetic, which is basically what they implied and intended for. So I believe so. If you guys watched the Toy Galaxy live stream with Lenny and Tony and all, Lenny did mention that there's one more Legacy Series figure that's coming out, so we should get another guy. I don't know. I think that's another Arctic figure. I do not know at the moment. But he did say there's one more coming out that they worked on, so hopefully we should get an announcement sometime before the year ends, which should be great. Chris says, I just bought the new Savage Crucible Drevarthi Sentinel drop figure to only mash up parts to Varnak Unchained figure. Yeah, you know that that Varn oh no, sorry, the what's his name? The new Drevarthi figure, it's interesting, you know, like it didn't like totally wow me, but it was just like it's interesting. I might have to see it in hand to maybe appreciate it a bit more. Okay, so Kai Trucking says really like it, tons of accessories. Zedburn says perfect rescue colors, just don't fit with the Arctic stuff. I agree. Wilfredo says it's okay, I'm not in a rush to get it. Jason says it's nice, but it's just Snow Job in orange and it has no Saint Bernard. I'll snag on clearance. This definitely has Ross exclusive written all over it. Alan says, I think that's overpriced. Deep 6, he is not a deluxe figure and warrant $52 price tag. Taito says, not a fan. There is more wrong than right with this figure considering the premium price point. Yeah, I think we can all agree that this, I mean, we're going to go over all the prices later on in the stream, but I think we can all agree at some point that the prices for this year were pretty wild. Zedburn says he needs a rescue Snowcat or Polar Battle Bear. That would be cool. Derek says, should be getting a Hydro Viper tomorrow. Congrats, man. A Hydro Viper looks like such a solid figure, man. I love that face sculpt of Hydro Viper. JB, welcome back. Says, hi, everyone. What's a good word? Word's the bird. Ford says, ordered all but Dusty. Mr. Magda says, mine goes straight to Tony Figs to turn him into Snow Job that I missed. Maybe they might re-release Snow Job at some point. That would be really cool. Kai Truckin says, I can't believe they've done a Coast Guard yet. I mean, there's still a lot of grounded characters they need to do at some point. Ford says, my Dawn was mint. Ooh. Johnny says, I was hoping that they would reissue Serpenter with Air Chariot as it wasn't available in Europe when it was released. Oh, man. I'm pretty sure they will at some point. Hang in there, man. Hang in there. You know they would never not re-release Serpenter for sure. All the Legacy, JB says all the Legacy hit Ross stores. This will be a Ross winter for sure. Even if it's not this year, at least sometime by next year. Because it took Slice and Dice about 9 or 10 months from its release to be at Ross for like 12 to 15 bucks. Jason says, remember to pace yourselves, folks. June and July we get hit hard, and then August, September, October are very slow. That is very true. Yeah, we still have, of course, San Diego Comic-Con. We have New York Comic-Con. We have, I think, 2 more Walmart Collector Cons, and then, like, I think 2 more Target Geek Outs. So, and then maybe the one in CCXP in Brazil. So that should be something. Steve G says, yeah, I'm holding off to buying this year because you're right, prices are wild. I mean, realistically, aside from the last week, which was the latest wave of the $28 figures, there was no other figure that was below 40 bucks, which was wild. And then let's just move on to the next figure because I think we can pretty much all agree, about Avalanche. This response figure was mostly a pass compared to a buy. But speaking of prices, where it got interesting is that people didn't really like the fact that this Dusty figure was priced a lot higher compared to other figures in the past and then comes with lesser accessories. And then, of course, a lot of people were not too thrilled about the Coyote, aka Sandstorm. Like I read a few comments of people saying like, Sandstorm is incorrect, or some people arguing with each other saying that, this is what a Coyote looks like, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just like, it's a little bit all over the place. Yeah, I mean, otherwise this Dusty figure it's definitely better in my opinion than the first release, just because the first release was, it was when the G.I. Joe team was shifting manufacturers, so like the plastic and the knee joints and elbow joints were all miscolored. So it was, and plus his helmet didn't have the cloth piece, which was very unfortunate. So I feel like they might course correct Dusty at some point in the future. I don't know when, because I don't think he's on the pipeline anytime soon. Um, but this is easily just one of those figures where you can just buy for the hell of it at some point and not even call him Dusty and just, name him something else. If Whiskey Tango Foxtrot's going to be in the stream later, I like to call this version the Whiskey Tango Dusty figure. All right, let me catch up with the chat real quick. Slice and Dice were Hasbro exclusives. True. Spent all my Joe budget on fireworks. Happy 250th America, says Benedict. Oh, man. Well, yeah, happy 250. It's going to be a great 4th of July for sure. JB says October through December is going to be Heater Skeletor for my... What? Skeletor for my bank account. Derek says, I've been holding back on pre-ordering a lot and wait until it comes in stock. Got tired of getting a hit all at once with pre-orders. Yeah, I mean, if you guys also remember, welcome Nerd Alert, how's it going? If you guys also remember, like, what is it, like last week we had some Amazon Prime Day sales and figures that were once $28 were $15. Like the Snake Eyes version 4 figure was like $16. I mean, 16 is still better than 27 or 28. So that's why patience is kind of a virtue at this point. Like, I think for classified, unless you're someone that, really, really, really wants your figures, or if you're someone who's like a YouTuber that does, G.I. Joe reviews or classified reviews and you like to be early, you're like one of the first ones, or you have your, sources from other people from out of the country, then sure, like, that's your thing. You do what you got to do. But I think at this point, because they've already made most of the classic characters, like now it's just kind of like, just wait, save some money. They'll probably like come to Target and Walmart at some point, depending on your area and location, and then you might save a few bucks. That's, you know. Kai Trucking says the legs are off. Russell says I probably would have pre-ordered this if it did not include Sandstorm. Don't have anything against him though. I mean, his legs are jacked though. Jason says call him Peter. Alan says I like the figure, not so much of a fan of the Coyote. Russell says this Dusty would look good along Clutch and Vamp. Absolutely. Liquid says I'm okay with more versions now. Roadblock version 2 now, please. Oh my god, it's been a while since I've... Yeah, Roadblock version 2. When are we getting that one with the white shirt? It's been too long. Alan says $51 is far way out of whack. Yeah, because think about it. You're getting... And like, the weapons are like brown. Even if the weapons were at least black, I could have been a little bit more like, okay, that's cool. But I mean, are any of you like knives or like dagger experts? Because I don't know if there's actually like a bronze colored blade. Do correct me if I'm wrong, but I would have preferred the weapons to be black, and the blade to be silver. So this is what I usually like to talk about when I quote unquote slightly nitpick classified. You have a really, really good looking Dusty figure right in front of us, okay? Like, we can all agree that it is a good looking Dusty figure. There's nothing wrong about it. It looks good. But then you look at the weapons and you're just like, is that like clay? Is that like molded like putty? Like what, why is it brown? Like what is up with this color choice? Why couldn't they just color it black? And that's like my biggest like pet peeve with classified is, you're so close to doing a really great looking figure, which you did, but then you take 2 steps back and make the accessories look cheap, or at least the weapons look like crap. I'm sorry to say, but it is. So, and I think that's why a lot of people buy like who said this? Somebody just said third party. Nerd Alert says you have to buy third party weapons. But see, my philosophy in toy collecting is if you're already paying like $50 or something for this particular 2-pack, I shouldn't need to go to a third-party company to get better weapons when this company itself, that is freaking Hasbro, should literally be doing it for us because they have the money and budget for us. No one in their right mind would have said, let's do bronze clay-colored weapons, and I think that looks good. Like, no, it doesn't. Give us black weapons, dude. It's not so hard. I completely don't understand like this this concept. And if anybody would like to correct me in the comments, or if anybody likes to correct me in the chat, please do, because I would love to be, you know, educated on this, on like what was the reason behind it. Because Gridiron does like some really fantastic weapons and stuff, and I've seen a lot of their weapons that people do, or like they add onto their figures, and yeah, it looks fantastic. And then you look at classified figures, you take like you put the knife into the sheath, and like when I'm doing it for certain figures, the knives are just bending, they're like wobbling while I'm putting it into the sheath, and I'm just like, oh my god, it's like freaking rubber. Although I get it, it's still like it's an action figure, you can't really expect much. But the point I'm trying to make here is, why bother having some figures have really good looking, oh, there's fireworks outside. I said, why bother having some figures look really good with some really good weapons, and then not continue with that consistency with all the other figures? Why have one 2-pack be good with or like one particular figure be good with so many great colored weapons, and then you have another one where they downgrade? So I'm not too sure like the concept behind this. So it's still it's mind-boggling to me, especially because they keep, and the prices are just going up, right? They're not going down. So where do we draw the line for this? Does nostalgia overweigh the price that we're paying for these figures? Oh wow, that was a good rant. I had to get that off my gills. Shark speaks the truth, says Alan. Valaverse weapon packs for. Oh yeah, Valaverse. Yeah, I still have to do a video on that once Valaverse uploads like official product shots for their weapons pack. That would be really cool. Hasbro weapons are black gridiron all the way, says Kai Trucking. Liquid says, I'm sure accessories are grouped into one cast, so all these stalker weapons in one cast, made in one color at the same time. But I don't think Stalker's weapons were they dark green, right? Or were they were that olive-ish color, right? I don't remember. Not the retro one, the first release. Steve says, you're absolutely right, Hasbro should be giving us banger weapons. Unless this is like their way of saying, hey, it's still like a children's line, so we can't make it realistic. There's somebody, maybe it's Chris Cox, that's telling them we have to tone it down so, you know, parents don't get like, even though no one's freaking buying these for their kids, at least I don't think. Fireworks are chicks celebrating they found Shark's address. Yeah, I just saw like a really nice firework from my window, so I thought that was pretty cool. It was like pink and white. Smoke says the 1991 version had the tan brown weapons too. Well, I mean, that's totally fine, even if the originals had that, but because we're in a 6-inch scale, I kind of prefer them to kind of, you know, does that make sense? Like, if the figure is already a blown up version of the original, roughly, then the accessories should at least be a little bit more realistic looking. They shouldn't go exactly to the T even on the weapons and color that too, because then that's just kind of like, I think that's a little bit weird, at least for me. I mean, I don't know if you guys agree or disagree, but I don't know. I find that weird. They should do accessory packs like Valaverse. I agree. Yeah, it's been 6 years now and still no weapons pack. Somebody just came in the stream. Joshua says, "Hey Shark, in the shivers, did I miss so much?" Nope, you just missed the Avalanche response figure. 49er Brian, welcome to the chat with the shark emojis. Hell yeah, freaking yeah. Nerd Alert says Coyote looks lame. I'm sorry. All good, man. All opinions are welcome on tonight's stream, man. No one should hold back. Speak how you feel. Type how you feel. This isn't a shill. This isn't a shill channel. We speak our minds here. Johnny B says the dog's 2 front legs really off to me. Coyotes. 250. Hell yeah. All right. So that is the Dusty and Sandstorm figure. I'm sure the figure is gonna be fine. It's just, you know, it is what it is. Price, weapons, slight nitpicks here and there, but it's still a good looking figure. I'll give them that. I like it though, just not for that price point. All right. Anyway, so let's move on. All right. So that was week 3 for G.I. Joe Classifieds YOJOEJUNE. Only 2 pre-orders, no name reveals at that time. So now we are going to fast forward to week 4. Is it raining outside? No. I've been wrong. Okay. So, how do you guys feel about, where are we? Mistress Armada. So this was a figure that a lot of people, I guess you can say, were pleasantly surprised to actually like. Um, so give me 1 second here. I just want to make sure. Where are we? Where are we? Where are we? Sorry, the chat got messed up here. Give me 1 second. There we go. Back on schedule. So let's read the comments first from you guys, and then Derek Holloman says she looks fantastic. Alan says I absolutely love this figure. Is need Mistress Armada in my collection. I need Mistress Armada in my collection. Wilfredo says she really looks great in the photos. I agree. Zed Burn says she's tough. I agree. Derek Holloman says that gold helmet looks fire. I agree. Yes, yes. Liquid says liking the design for Armada Iron Grenadier. I hope they match the body and face skin tones. I mean, some people did say that this is the only stream where stream. I just read Russell's comment, so I got sidetracked. This is the only figure where people were kind of like the skin tone on the head is not the same as the chest, and perhaps it could just be the lighting, I assume. So hopefully that's not the case, but otherwise, you know, some people do have tans more on their face than they do on their chest, so I guess it is what it is. I guess it's okay. Ford says she's rad. Russell says this is the only live stream I get on where we all interact with each other, speaking to you, Alan Balcom. Shout out to Russell for such a very kind-hearted comment here on tonight's stream. Thank you guys for making this one of the best live chats to enjoy. I appreciate it. Zed Burn says the skull, face, knee pads, 100%. That was something that I completely overlooked the first time I saw the figure, where I was just like, you know, I was like, yeah, there's like silver is really cool, good like webbing style armor and stuff like that. But then somebody was like, yeah, you know, she has freaking skulls on her knee pads, and I was like, what? Then I had to go back and look, and I was like, holy shit. So this is one of those instances where we can literally agree that Lenny does have, or even Tony, Lenny and Tony combined, I don't know, tonally, whatever their combination name is, they could really come up with a pretty good looking design character, because this is a departure from the actual comic version, right? So we know that they have the capability of doing some knockout figures, and this is again a good one, because once again, like how you guys are saying in the chat, the gold helmet looks great, the money looks great, the weapons look fine, the goggles look fine, and just like the overall concept of her matching with the Iron Grenadiers, and because the comic version not so much, but this one, like it works. So they did a really great job with it, and so I'm very pleased with that. Smoke says, for me, she is the best of these 3 releases. Alan says, I love this community we have built. So right back at you, Russ. We have built, yes. Yeah, this would not have been possible without you guys, so thank you guys so much, man. Who else? Timothy says, great looking figure. Chaos Agent says she should have had a shield. That would have been interesting, yeah. What color shield would you have wanted? A gold shield or a silver shield? Wilfredo says, but why are her hands reddish colors? That I do not know. Maybe it's, can someone correct me if it's written in her bio that she has red hands? Because I didn't read her bio yet. I think the Joe Socials posted her bio. I didn't get a chance to read it. It's been a busy week, but it's like black nails with red hands. So yeah, I'm not too sure at the moment. Kai Trucking says she's Iron Grenadier all the way. Knee pads, belt clip, $100 bills. Yes. Liquid Identity says she looks like fingerless gloves. Is it? I don't know. To me, from this angle, it just looks like her thumb has like black nail polish. I don't know. Zedburn says, I'm guessing her hands have red gloves on. Killa Z5, welcome to the chat, says, Smoke, agreed, my friend. Alan says, those look like mass device Snake Eyes hands. I don't know if they would put male hands on a female. I don't know if they would do that. Because I think those Snake Eyes hands are a little bit more veiny and a little more like, I guess, bulkier. I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. These look more slim, more feminine style fingers. So otherwise, yeah, I guess based on the chat, we can pretty much all agree that she surprisingly took to us all by a storm, that she became probably one of the, I don't want to say best, but one of the more fan favorites of the wave, to really match the concept of Iron Grenadiers, and taking something that was not in the comics, meaning like a totally different take on the character, which is very, very welcoming. So congrats and good job to Tony and Lenny for utilizing and giving us this kind of creativity. This is what I call like them doing a great job compared to some other, figures that we've had in the past that I've always like complained about. And if you guys have the what is it, the Pimp Daddy Destro figure, you could always use that one with the burning money. So the burning dollar bills. Derek Holloman says, I canceled my Despoiler pre-order, Johnny. Too many bills at the moment, maybe later. It does look cool. Joshua says, if they did, we'd have to use the Seinfeld meme. She's got, oh my god, Seinfeld, yeah. The episode where the girl that he's dating is cracking the what do you call it, the lobster with her man hands. Shout out to Joshua for bringing back the comedy Seinfeld moment. The helmet makes me want to make a custom Greek figure, though. I mean, imagine if they reuse her bottom half and they made it gold to match the actual helmet. That probably would have been really, really sick too. I mean, the silvers look great too. Don't get me wrong. I think even gold probably would have been like insane. It would have easily matched like 100% with the Iron Grenadier Destro's freaking gold dome. So yeah. So that was Mistress Armada. I guess, once again, based on the chat, positive reviews or positive outcome. A lot of people enjoy it, so I guess we don't have too much to say about that. All right, moving on. Let's talk about a very interesting concept of this particular release had me freaking thinking late at night. We have the Rugged, aka Tough Duke. Now, the reason why I said this in the SHARKNEWZ video, BMAC informed us that this was technically a concept figure before they went the route of the Operation Blackout video game with the gold armor, the super duper Fortnite looky designs, and those figures were okay. They weren't like the greatest, but they were fine for what they were at that time. But then BMAC said, this was kind of like, in that same realm, whereas it was either this one probably or the other design. I mean, who knows how many other concepts they had before. Now it made me question where, and I want to ask you guys in the chat, where do you think the G.I. Joe classified line would have headed if they continued in this route? Do you think that Snake Eyes would have looked the same? Do you think Flint and Zartan would have all looked the same? Because once again, the thing that confuses me is because the video game came out at around the same time, roughly, maybe like roughly around the same time, and those figures coincided with that. So I'm not sure the timeline where if maybe the video game would have had this design in there too. So Yeah, so that's why this figure is like a very, I don't like, controversial is the wrong word, but this figure is a very, it's a thinker for me. It's like it's like a what if, because now it's like I'm not going to sleep well at night knowing that we could have had a whole different direction of GI Joe Classified, and it would have all started with this particular Duke. So it's kind of like, it's like unknown territory, and that's why I'm kind of like very inclined to know what the other figures would look like. Scarlet, Lady J, Major Blood probably. I mean, Major Blood's my favorite in what we have now, but what would they have done with Major Blood, or even the Cobra Troopers or officers? Because we've seen Haya or Hia toys with their versions of characters, and even though those are also depicted on the video game aspect, a lot of their troopers and vipers and stuff like that, they look freaking amazing. Like, they're not like the classified versions, and I feel like the classified should have also had that concept of figures. So yeah, I mean, I guess we'll just never know. We will never know. All right, so let me go back with the chat real quick. One second here. Okay, so Timothy says exactly 100 with the gold. The helmet is a signal to the boss fight. Think about it. Ooh. Ford says ditto on the gold. Liquid says rugged render head sculpt was so much nicer looking. That is true. I did like the render more. You can't really tell much of the beard on this figure. Duke, I need to see in person if I decide to buy, says Derek. Jason says I like it. Chaos retracted his message. Oh no. Miss says it's so hard to keep up with classified figures. With the prices keep going up, I wait for the sales and clearance to get them. That's probably the only better way to get them if you're not like a completionist at the time being. Assholy, a nice name. Says the magazines on his secondary don't fit any of his weapons. Oh yeah, I see. Alan says, I gotta say I like this version of Duke. He doesn't look what? Bottom up clean Duke. We got it in the cartoon. Liquid says Rugged Duke is better than the sci-fi flavor we were dipping into. That's true. Benedict says looks good. Should have been the OG classified design. Reminds me of Pursuit of Cobra. I like the age version of characters. Chaos Agent says this should have been what classified looked like from the start. More grounded, rugged, instead of the over corrected and went 90% retro in the main line. Well, yes, and if you think about it, look at the characters like Flint and Lady J. Because remember, I've been doing classified freaking videos since 2000 or sorry, 2020 to 2021, right? We as someone who made videos back then, we saw the shift from that particular wave of Flint and Lady J, because Flint had that new hairstyle. He had like this new macho-ness to him, but it still had like a different design aspect. It wasn't cartoon at all, but it had a new element to it. And then you saw like he had some different armors and stuff, but it still looked very old school, but it had a nice modern look to it. So it was like a very good balance. Like that Flint, the first version of Flint was a very good balance. But you can tell that they course corrected a lot of that, because so many people, I'm pretty sure including myself, we complained that the heavy armor and the golds was just not as appealing to a lot of us. So I think if this Duke came out alongside the first classified version of Flint, but they kept some ruggedness to that Flint figure, I think this and that first version of Flint would look really, really good together. I don't know if you guys can see that vision with me, but I think those two figures would look really good together. Benedict says, here's to hoping for Operation Blackout Storm Shadow. I don't think we'll ever get that, but I wish, though. One can hope. The Operation Blackout Storm Shadow and Sci-Fi were probably the last two figures I wanted, and we never got those, which is very, very sad. I really wanted that Sci-Fi from Operation Blackout. Russell says, I have some really pricey stuff on pre-order for later this year. I'm still thinking about getting the Duke, but haven't pulled the trigger yet. Real Wilfredo says those Hia Hayatoi's Cobra Troopers look amazing and their futuristic designs are on a whole nother. I 100% agree. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Wilfredo. Alan says wait for the sales on Amazon. NorCal says the face for Rugged Duke looks slightly different than the pre-rendered photo. Yes. This Duke still looks like Pretty Boy Duke just with the beard, roughly. The render kind of had more of a stern look, whereas this one he still looks kind of nice. Just a nice guy with the beard, I guess. Russell says if you remove the original Breaker Loud Vest, it would be closer to original Duke and having the beard. Wait, what? If you remove the original Breaker Loadout Vest, would this be closer to the OG Duke? That would be an interesting. I have to look that up. Yeah, Russell, I'll see if I can mock something up and see what I can do with that. Smoke says with these desert colors, I'm wanting Red Star and Ambush. Oh, Ambush and EV2 pack from the Deke series. If you know, you know. That's all I'm gonna say. All right, before we move on to the next figure, make sure you hit that like button. I have no goal for tonight's stream, so just if you're able to hit that like button, we'll just see how far we go before the stream ends. So I'll leave it up to you guys. So yeah, make sure you hit that like button. So yeah, the more I look at this Duke, the more I'm like, it's not that bad. Ford says, I really want the OG Ripcord. That's a figure my pops dug when we first got him. Yeah, we haven't got an original Ripcord yet. We have NIGHTFORCE Ripcord, right? Yeah, NIGHTFORCE Ripcord. That's all we have. We still need the original for sure. And also shout out to all 60 something of you watching tonight. I really do appreciate it, and I know once I say that the numbers are gonna drop, so that's cool. But otherwise, yeah, thank you guys so much for joining, man. We're still not even halfway there. We still got a long way to go. All right. So that was Rugged Duke. So that was Rugged Duke. I guess, yeah. So I guess we'll never know where Classified would have headed at this point, but maybe we might get something at some point, like a different variation of another figure, and maybe they could be like, this is what it was supposed to look like, but now we're releasing it to you like 6 years, 7 years later. I don't know. The sky is the limit. We'll see. All right, up next. Meanwhile, while Russell Terrell is getting drunk, let's talk about another character who's puffing on fumes, and that's TOXO Viper. Oh yeah. What do you guys feel about TOXO Viper? I'm telling you, this figure's head sculpt, man, it's good, man. I love this head sculpt. Man, they really did a good job on that head sculpt, man. I think this with Hydro Viper. I think Hydro Viper and TOXO Viper right now are my two favorite classified head sculpts for 2026. Maybe Frag Viper too. Oh, was Frag Viper last year? I think Frag Viper was last year, but Frag Viper is up there with one of my favorite head sculpts. Yeah. I mean, even if you had no, like Liquid says he never had one, but it's growing on him. Even if you have no attachment to this figure, like you got to admit, like it just, like even though yes, it is an army builder of a figure, but we can just say for the sake of like if you want to save money, he's like a one and done character. Like he's that good at what he does to the point where you don't need to army build it. Like he's very advanced in his field that you just need one of these guys. At least that's how I would probably say it if I didn't want to army build this guy. But I still don't understand what's going on with his boots though. I don't know if it's, I'm pretty sure it's like it seems backwards to me, at least the right boot. Because the original, those turquoise, the teal colors were technically on the back of the boots. So maybe whoever did the photography and then whoever did like the actual prototyping of this, like probably just put it on wrong. So they probably just didn't correct him. Otherwise, unless that's a style choice, then yeah, it is what it is. The colors are awesome on this figure, says Miss. I need two. Alan says, nope, as an 80s kid, hard pass. Kubaz says, do you think we'll get Heat Viper, Astro Viper, Rock Viper, and Undertow? I don't know about Astro Viper, but I think Heat Viper, Rock, and Undertow. I definitely think Undertow is very, very possible, because Undertow isn't anything different than a Cobra Eel. Just, you know, you can literally just use that same exact body, just make it red and green. So unless you want to have the other version of Undertow, the other color scheme, the blue one from like the 2000s era. Rock Viper, it would be a missed opportunity for them to not do it, because he comes with so many great accessories. As long as Rock Viper doesn't have Alpine's accessories, I'll be happy. Heat Viper, I like the 2000 era Python Patrol version of Heat Viper, but the yellow and purple, I mean, if they're going into a crazy color scheme, then I don't see why not. You know, I think it could happen, because Heat Viper does have a very interesting helmet. If you guys, for those who don't know Heat Viper or haven't seen his helmet, like, look it up. It's very weird, and I actually like it. So I think that would look really great in classified. NorCal says the mystery of the blue boot pad. I'm sure all of those Vipers are coming next. Russell Terrell says jump, jump. Ford says jump, jump. Alan says jump, jump. Alrighty then. Everyone's drunk. Good stuff. Note to self, never stream on a Sunday. I'm an 80s kid, but I dig getting the later stuff in the scale, says Joshua. Yeah, I mean, like, the colors look good. At least I think the colors look good. Purple, teal, blue, teal, aquish, not aqua, sorry, like turquoise-ish teal. Like, it looks great. I like it. And the head sculpt, great. But anyways, so that is Toxo Viper. Also, quickly, the helmet is very bizarre, so I'm glad. I'm glad that the helmet. So, okay, hold on. Let me ask you guys a question. Would you guys have preferred or prefer the helmet to go right on top of the actual figure, or would you want it to have a helmet have like a peg, where you have to swap out the heads? Because with Frag Viper, I was very impressed that you can place the helmet on top of, you know, the head sculpt, but then it also has like a light, I don't want to say cheaper quality, but it's not like, I don't know where I'm going with that, but I think it could have been a little bit more detailed, if that makes sense. I think having just, yeah, but I mean, either way, helmet's fine, whatever. It is what it is. Pretty Boy Floyd, welcome to the chat, says Puff Puff Pass. All right, everybody's drunk here on the chat. Good stuff. Separate helmets were feasible, says Liquid. Alan says, dang, now that's a totally different reference. Joshua says he's got his hood pulled tight like a Randy from Oh, great reference. Whoa, Joshua with all the references, hitting the nostalgic feels. Yeah, you're right. All right. Coming up next, or Kenny. Yeah, you're right. So that is Toxo Viper. I guess it's more like a mixed reaction based on the chat, but you know, I guess some get it, some don't. It is what it is. But I'm sure he seems like one of those figures that will easily go on sale at some point. Ford says, I can't put my arms down. Well, you have to mumble it, because remember, he was in the jacket and he couldn't. Oh man, I miss watching Christmas. I can't wait for Christmas, man. The best time of the year. Austin Brooks says, I'm kind of curious if I nailed Iceberg and Falcon accurately enough, you know. Well, while we're on the topic, let's talk about it. How do you guys feel about Iceberg? What are your thoughts on Iceberg? My only thoughts about this figure is the actual product shot on the live stream. It looked very muted, and then the photography, it looks like a different blue, and then the render looked like grayish blue. So like I don't know what the hell is going on with this figure, color wise, at least the vest. But we can all agree that this is definitely the number one pre-ordered figure for sure. Ford says, I live 5 minutes from the real Xmas story. Oh, damn, you dude, you're so lucky. So lucky. Kai Trucking says, rocking figure. Derek says, my man, Iceberg, easy pre-order. Liquid says, dark green and blue gray looked better. NorCal says, maybe they released some new ones with blue boot pads and some with two blue boot pads and a lower numbered figure becomes a rare variant. I mean, do you guys like the color scheme, or would have preferred a more vibrant colored green for like the holster and stuff like that? And once again, I'll let the colors of the weapon slide because I love Iceberg and I'm a little biased, so I love it. But I think the blade for the weapon should have been silver. Like what's with the teal gray? I mean, or bluish weapon. I don't get it. Cause I know the original O-ring version, his weapons were all white, so adding some color on here is good. Kai Trucking says the art is off though. His boot is messed up and doesn't match. I vaguely looked at. I don't really look at packaging as much as I used to anymore. I kind of just. I don't know why. Roy Galloway, welcome to the chat, says ordered Iceberg to go with the Snowcat. I mean, 100%. That is super duper mandatory. By the way, I like your beard, Roy Galloway. If that's still your beard, nice beard, man. Kubas says definitely buying Iceberg. Also hoping for Blizzard. Oh, Blizzard, Sub-Zero. Who's the other guy I'm missing? What's his name? Shit. What's his name? He's the guy with the orange mustache. Crap. How am I forgetting this? Windchill. That's who I'm talking about. At least it isn't yellow version. Oh, that yellow one would have been funny. NorCal says at least they added white to the guns. I agree. Smoke says pass. As Florida guy, I don't get the Snow Joes. Well, even back then, right? You technically don't really have to get the Snow Joes in the sense of. I'm trying to see how what's the best way to put this. Like even in my O-ring collection, I wasn't sure if I wanted to get snow characters too, but then I was like, there's nothing wrong with just getting Frostbite, Snowjob, and Iceberg. Like if you even just get those 3 essentials, like you're fine. You don't need to get the rest. Russell Terrell says maybe the snowboard could have been the same blue. Yeah, I mean it has that GI Joe green on it to match the pouches and all and like the other strap around the torso. So I guess I kind of see where they were going with that. But a blue snowboard would have been pretty cool too. Maybe they'll bring it back for a Cobra character. That would be pretty interesting. Cause what's his name? The Snow Serpent had a white snowboard, so. Chaos Agent says, hell, I'm Canadian and I hate snow-themed characters. How can you hate snow? Man, you guys are lucky you at least get snow, man. Because of global warming, we barely get snow now. Alright, so we can pretty much confirm that Iceberg is definitely the winner of the entire wave. So that's good stuff. Cool. All right. So we're moving along nicely. You guys are killing it right now. Good job. All right. So now that we've got Iceberg out of the way. Well, Liquid says snow sucks. Shovel it all year long. Then tell me how much you love it. I mean, I do shovel. Like it, dude. Hold on. I have to go on a little side quest here because Liquid Identity is telling me the best feeling. Because I'm a January baby, right? The best feeling is going outside, shoveling, and then coming home and then having like coffee, and then you're having like some warm snack while you're watching like the snow from the outside on like a nice January sunset or December. Like it's beautiful, man. It's like you feel like you just did a great workout. Sure, your back probably hurts, but I love it, man. It's such a great feeling. Holy shit. Joshua with the $5. Thank you so much, Joshua. Says, gotta get one super chat in for YOJOEJUNE. Thanks for all your hard work. Oh, thank you so much, Joshua, man. I really do appreciate that. I really do appreciate that, man. Thank you, thank you. Shout out to Joshua. I really do appreciate that, Joshua, man. Thank you, Joshua. And who did the see once? I can't see. Hold on. Give me 1 second here. Oh, I can't go back to the previous. Who gave the $20 Canadian in the beginning of the stream? Your name disappeared and it won't let me go back up there. I apologize. Liquid says snow is crazy. Confirmed. Shark is snow crazy. Yes, that is true. All right, let's move along. So that is Iceberg, best figure of the wave so far. All right. How do you guys feel about Cyberpunk Boy? This one was a Liquid Identity. I have to give credit where it's due. Shout out to Joshua and Liquid Identity for the channel donations for tonight's stream. Both of you, thank you guys so much, man. It really does mean a lot to me. How do you guys feel about this guy, Mr. Synapse? One of the things that really intrigued me about this figure is when BMAC was talking about the eye that you see in the palm of the alternate hand. Like that basically does like a mind control kind of thing. So I kind of really like storytelling, like because I grew up watching a lot of like 90s cartoons, and those are all such bizarre concepts. So I feel like this kind of fits in my concept of collecting. Maybe not in G.I. Joe, but just as a cool looking like villain, something like Batman would fight. I don't know. Chaos says, I'm in love with this figure. The Death Stranding inspired backpack is really cool. I'll take this kind of figure versus Cobra Law any day. Ooh, shots fired on Cobra Law. Ford says, a Fortnite character. BD Bonsai says, not my cup of tea, hard pass. Alan says, I absolutely hate every part of this figure. Liquid says, Synapse is the newest Operation Monster Force figure. Someone mixed up the promotion. I feel like Operation Monster, well, maybe. I feel like this would work more in hand with Skeletron, right? This kind of looks more of a Skeletron kind of figure. Sorry, where am I? Kyla or Keela, sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. I don't get where this one fit in the line. I mean, it technically doesn't. It's kind of like just a brand new character to add, because if you guys remember when G.I. Joe was adding all these new characters in, a lot of us fell off of G.I. Joe, but even back in like the 2007s and 2008s when they introduced like Jungle Viper and Shadow Tracker and I don't know, like a bunch of all these new people, like I think it kind of works because new characters are usually always welcome, at least for me, as long as it looks good. It doesn't really have to be like canon to like a comic or cartoon. As long as if you go back to your old school days and think about imagination and think about your old childhood self and pretend like some new crazy villain joins Cobra. Like I'm sure we all kind of shit the fan when we saw Dr. Mindbender in his suspenders and he was shirtless with his nipples. Yet we all love Dr. Mindbender, so I'm sure this guy is probably equally as crazy to some degree. Jay Gustafson says, I had to get this one. Good stuff, man. Liquid says, not my Joe, not at all. Jeremy says, that Fortnite characterization is dead on. It definitely is Fortnite for sure. I mean, color scheme is very vibrant, very Toxo Viper color. Fort says we get him, but no Dr. Venom. I mean, Dr. Venom, we don't have Venomous Maximus yet. That would be great. We still need a Venomous Maximus. Russell says that hand looks like a pale man from the movie Pan's Labyrinth movie. I mean, you know what would have been really cool is if you can kind of, this is probably a really bad idea, but if you can kind of army build, you see how that backpack has like a spine and like a hand and all that stuff like that? Imagine if there was like a slight little build-a-figure you can utilize where you can kind of create like miniature robotic armies to go with this guy. Like it doesn't have to be like a 6-inch scale figure. It can be like a 4-inch scale figure, but it's like a robot that accompanies this character. I think, and plus because you look at the, you know, again the spine and then the arms, like kind of like connect and build like this pretty cool. I don't know. I think that would be pretty insane. I would like that. Killa says makes me want to listen to AFI. Joshua says I ordered him, but I ordered every name character. I mean, there's always the option. If you guys, you know, don't like it, you can always return it or, you know, sell it. I'm sure someone out there will buy it. Where are we? Okay, so otherwise, yeah, I mean, I don't really have too much to say about it. I think it's a pretty interesting add-on. BMAX said this was his favorite new character created or whatever. So, you know, this goes hand in hand with like Professor Rotclaw, Sundown, Synapse. Am I missing anybody else? Alan says again, looks like a male version of Nebula from Guardians of the Galaxy. It could be. I mean, it has the same color scheme, purples and blues and stuff. So I'm pretty sure they were probably aiming that way. All right, so I guess we can all agree that Synapse is kind of like a missed opportunity to some degree, but it's still fine. I'm sure we'll see this guy at some point in the future, like a reissue, like an army builder, like because think about it. For Crystal Ball, they gave us the dire night creeper and the viper, the ghost viper. So who knows? Maybe they'll give us like army builders for these guys, and then for this guy, and then everyone's gonna probably jump on this figure later. I don't know. That could be a possibility. Army builders for the Synapse, because again, he is controlling everyone with that eye hand. So, oh yeah, Wolf Spider, that too. Yeah, thank you, Joshua. Totally forgot about that guy. Kubas says I don't like the character at all. Liquid says we may see that suit jacket torso again with Tomax and Zammot. Ooh, good call. I think Liquid Identity is onto something. Kubas says Synapse is crap. Russell says build a Borg figure. That would be cool. Sorry. Antonio, welcome to the chat. Antonio says, did I miss the Triple T? Nope, we haven't even gotten there yet. We're still on week 3. We're on week 3 of GIJOE Classified. Or this is week 4 now. I don't know. I lost track. Fort says Dire Shadow Ninja, please. Okay, so that is Synapse. We are officially halfway through the stream now because now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of price points. So these are the prices from Hasbro Pulse only, not Big Bad Toy Store or Entertainment Earth or Amazon. So this is just Hasbro Pulse. King Cobra Commander, $70. Deep Six, $43. Snake Eyes and Viper 2-pack, $110 freaking dollars. But it does come with vehicles. Chibang and Scarlet Ninja Force, $60. Action Man, $43. Clutch with Vamp Mark II, $110. Grand Slam with Hal, $85. Dusty and Sandstorm, $52. Avalanche Response, $43. Iceberg and everyone else, $28. So, I think someone made a very valid point in one of my comment section and on a previous video that they're basically making up money for the No HasLab this year. Do you guys agree with this comment, or do you think some of these are reasonably priced? Because think about it. Other than the last wave, the last 5 figures, there's nothing under $40. And they're all like deluxe or exclusives or vehicle related, or you know what? Let's break it down and let's talk about why they're priced that high. Um, all right, so King Cobra Commander, very understandable Cobra Commander. It's the hooded version. I mean, it's like slightly regal style with a throne. So of course they had to toss in that $70. Deep Six, you know, big body suit armor makes sense. Obviously no shark vehicle, but they had to toss in, raise that price because it is a bulky, robotic looking freaking Buzz Lightyear. Snake Eyes and Viper, 110 makes sense because it's two repainted figures, but you're coming with two vehicles, so maybe that one is a little bit of a steal compared to buying it individually, I guess. Action Man, 43, only because they probably had to pay for licensing fees for Action Man, I guess, for at least for that specific name. Otherwise, it was basically it was Outback and Alpine combined together to create Action Man, and then you remove a lot of the details on it to give him just a black shirt with black pants or whatever the hell he was with an orange hat. Um, Clutch with Vamp, basically it's a recolored of the same thing, just beige sandy, so 110, whatever. Grand Slam with Hal comes with a giant heavy artillery laser, 85. I think Grand Slam with Hal was probably the most overpriced figure for me, just because yes, the Hal is pretty huge, but Grand Slam itself did not come with a lot of accessories or any alternate extra stuff that he should have come with. So then we already talked about Dusty and Sandstorm, completely overpriced too. Avalanche Response, not worth the 43, and then the $28 figures, we just talked about that. All right, let me read the chat real quick. Liquid says, I stopped pre-ordering mainline at this new price. I'll wait for the first sale. I mean, we're not too far away from Black Friday. Joshua says, I still feel like that 110 for the 2-pack vehicle combo is better value than the despoiler for the same price. Yeah, only because the ATV and the flight pod include, because both of those are kind of they're pretty nice. So those with two new figures, like quote unquote two new figures, for 110, I think I think that's kind of like the only incentive, I guess. Russell says, I'm still in pain. Okay. Talking about 49er says Hasbro is moving. Kuba says no with the strategy. Hasbro has alienated customers and fans. Roy Galloway says it is a letdown they didn't do a HasLab this year. Yeah, I mean, that was one of the most exciting things was the HasLab, and now it's kind of like we don't have too much to look forward to. But, you know, they did say that they do want to focus on smaller scale vehicles, so now I think a lot of the tooling and budget probably went away from the HasLab, and they used it on the smaller scaled vehicles. Because think about it, now we have Deep Six with this giant ass armor, we have the Snake Eyes and Viper with their vehicle, we have Clutch with the Vamp Mark II, we have Grand Slam with his HAL. So yeah, a lot of different stuff. Alan says that's why I don't pay full price unless I absolutely have to. BD Bonsai says Vamp for 110 when Ross and Amazon were selling the Stinger for $60. Yeah, I mean, because this Vamp is not the original green version, I'm pretty sure it's gonna go on sale for sure. There's no way it's not going to. 49er Brian says we're all paying for the U-Haul trucks. Oh yeah. I mean, shout out to the U-Haul drivers, man. Like they're kicking it into overtime. Russell says, well, Keela says greed. Russell says, since we are getting a HAL, I'm really hoping for a twin battle gun and a Ghost Hawk. Ooh. Joshua says, Destro is my spirit animal made a good point that Hasbro has to start being willing to take some hits on new tooling and make up the money with the repaints. Yeah. Zed Burn says, I was watching the, what? Okay, off topic there. Liquid Identity says, new tooling like Synapse, wish they'd invest in tooling that would be more useful later on. I wish they used that new tooling to make Night Viper look better. Zed Burn says, if Hasbro does another made-to-order deal and it's good, it will make up for the no HasLab. Yeah, I mean, they could announce another made-to-order. Who knows? We're not even in July yet. We're still like right at the end. We're at the brink of the end of June, so we could get some surprises in July. I mean, anything is possible. Alan says Ross sold a Stinger for $30. But yeah, we can all agree prices completely haywire. It's and of course somebody said that we're not going to get the price hike, but other collectors are saying we are going to get the price hike in September, and so that means we're going to get hit with $30 figures. I don't know if that's true or not. So I think one of the YouTubers named Toy Snowman made a video because he's up in Canada. So I don't know if Liquid Identity, because I know you said you're from Canada, so I don't know if you know about the price hike that's probably going to happen for you guys in September. At least that's what the YouTuber said, Toy Snowman. So we'll see how that's going to work. Yeah, Jeremy Claiborne. I need ASP and stun. Hell yeah. All right, so those are the prices. Unfortunately, we can all know that nothing is going to go down at any point unless we wait for sales. Because technically, all right, let's put it this way: technically, they're not really sales at this point. It's what they're really worth. That's just like when you go to a freaking outlet mall, you think you're getting a sale, but it's really not a sale. It's really what it's actually worth. They just mark it up and then chop down the price to what it's the actual price, and we're all like, oh my god, it's $40 off. Yeah, society has lost their mind. Anyways, so those are the 14 pre-orders. So shout out to everybody who either got all 14, army build, whatever. It's going to be a heavy ass time for your wallets, so best of luck to all of you guys. Hopefully things go smoothly in the future. Kuba's Enigma says, Shark, do you agree with the rumors going around possible water moccasin later this year? I didn't hear rumors about a water moccasin, but if that's true, then I'm all for it. I just don't know what they would do with it because we already have a pretty good Copperhead. So if they do like a Copperhead by himself, like another updated Copperhead or a different colored Copperhead, because Copperhead had like, I think 2 or 3 slight variations, if I'm not mistaken. So they could reuse them, or they can do a female version of a Copperhead. That would be pretty interesting. I wouldn't mind that at all. So Liquid Identity says Canadian prices went up from $36 to $40, so a 10% hike on the last mainline wave of this year. Yikes. Zed Burns spent $400 total. Jeez. Word. All right, so those are the 14 pre-orders for week what week is this? Week 4. So I thought this was fun to just look at the prices and just see how much we were getting robbed. But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool to kind of put in perspective of like, at least I was very happy that BMAC was very transparent, telling us way ahead of time that there's going to be 14 in total. So at least we knew really what to expect at that point. So very cool. All right, before we move on to the next, make sure you hit that like button. We still got a few more things to talk about, so make sure you hit that like button, guys. We're at 53 likes right now. I don't have a stream goal, so yeah, just hit that like button. Let's see where we go by the end. Joshua says, the problem is if you really have FOMO, it's impossible to predict which will go on sale and which will sell out and go up on secondary. Yeah, 100% Joshua, I agree. Antonio says, I want the Crocmaster version 2. Ooh. I didn't really like the first version of Crocmaster, as sad to say. And Crocmaster is one of my favorite Cobras. And I think the classified version didn't live up to par. Like, the head sculpt was good. I just think it could have been, like, a lot better, unfortunately. Alright, so now we're moving on to digital renders. Yay! What do you guys think of the Valkyrie or the retro Valkyrie figure? Now we're heading into the digital render territory. So those were all 14 pre-orders we just talked about. So now we're moving on to pre-orders probably for July and whatever. So yeah, what do you guys think of this beauty? So Alan says, I don't think there was anything bad with Crocmaster. So I'm gonna explain what I didn't like about the Crocmaster figure. So I totally understand that his outfit, like the torso, was supposed to be part of the the underbelly of the crocodile, which makes 100% sense. But if you look at the original O-ring Crocmaster and even the anniversary versions, it was like the scales and the skin popped out a lot on the vest or like the torsos and even the boots and the wrist gauntlets and stuff, and it just looked so menacing, like it just looked very eye catchy and appealing. Whereas the classified version, it was very just like a smooth like skin textured like on his torso and his boots, and I feel like they should have had like some rugged design and like pop out some scales and skin and stuff. That would have been like freaking amazing. But that's basically my only complaint about that Crocmaster figure. Holy shit, Kubas Enigma with the $5. Thank you so much, brother. I really do appreciate it. That really does mean a lot to me. He says, enjoy the Dr. Peppers. Oh, man. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, man. I have been enjoying it. Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, I've been enjoying it off screen, but thank you, Kubas Enigma. That's very, very, very kind of you. I appreciate that. Shout out to Kubas Enigma, man. You're the man. And also, quick shout out to all of you who remember that I love drinking Dr. Pepper. I mean, that is just that warms my shark heart, man. Thank you guys. That's very nice and kind of you. The fact that you guys care enough to remember small things like that, like that's one. Like you guys remember more than about me than my actual friends in real life do. Like I can ask my friends, what do I like collecting? And they'll be like, sports cards. And I'd be like, no, I love collecting action figures. Whereas you guys are like, here's $4 for Dr. Pepper. I'm like, oh, you guys care. Royce Wilkerson says, any news on when we'll see the Thunder Machine? Thunder Machine apparently is scheduled for a 2027. Now, they could change it. I don't know if they're going to switch things around, but at the moment... No, hold on, let me look. Give me a second. I lied. Sorry. Give me 1 second. Where are we? Here we go. So it seems like Thunder Machine is 2027, but 2026 we're supposed to be getting a Dreadnought battle cycle. So I guess we're getting a Dreadnought battle cycle, whereas the Thunder Machine is scheduled for a 2027. Interesting. So I don't know if that spoils anything, but anyways, Jay Gustafson says, I love Mr. Pibb. Ooh. Ford says, all those weapons, no backpack. Alan says, I don't do retro figures, but I did pick up another at Ross, and the other day blamed Shark for converting me to retro collector. No. Sorry, man. Joshua says, poor Shark has to pace himself with the peppers now. Yeah, I can't. My doctor told me I OD'd on Dr. Pepper, and it's just not good for me, so I do it, when I can. But I still buy it, though, so don't worry. Spectac1 says, oh, jumped in right in time. I hope the retro Valkyries blue matches the retro Cobra Troopers. That was one of the bigger concerns for a lot of collectors, and I think that's very valid because a lot of people, because the retro, Trooper, the retro Trooper had the same blues, or different blues, sorry. So I feel like this Valkyrie figure will probably coincide with the retro Cobra Trooper, But then again, it wouldn't match with the other two Valkyries. But I guess it's okay. I don't know. I guess that would kind of suck. It would have been better if they were all in unison. But yeah, as we saw in the previous SHARKNEWZ video, I did a comparison about the Valkyries, and they eliminated the silver trims off the mask. The helmet, I think, is a little bit not colored too much, and then the belt buckle is silver or gray compared to the all black. And I think everything else is roughly the same. Yeah, dude, I would buy like, what was it? Strawberry and cream Dr. Pepper, that new black cherry or cherry something Dr. Pepper. Oh my God, so good. Um, Question: does it bother any of you that the retro, like at least officers or troopers or whatever, and or even this Valkyrie, that the royal blue or the vibrant blues don't match the classified blues? Does that bother any of you, or do you prefer them to do different variations of blues? Russell Terrell says, last time I went, they did not have anything worth getting at Ollie's. Yeah, because I think Ross kind of took over. I think we barely see Ollie's do. Ollie's was like Cobra Island hype at that time. I think the last thing I remember at Ollie's was Sergeant Slaughter for like $8. LA says, no, bro, it's cool blue. Cool blue. Yes, you're right. Sorry. Joshua says, the color is what will sell me on this if I get it. Liquid says, uniform colors should be the same, but I'm not losing sleep over it. Ford says, the older troopers are battle hardened. That makes sense. Okay, yeah, all right, valid. All valid points. Alan says, my Ollies don't sell Joes anymore, just the same ass Black Series. Wilfredo says, different blues are okay by me. Monk da Willie da Hunk. Nice name. The colors won't bother me. I just want more Valkyries. Yeah, like I said before in the previous videos, Valkyries are my top. I think they're my #1 favorite female troop builders right now, for Cobras at least. They're just great. I like these more than the actual the female Crimson figures. Okay, so that was the Valkyries. Pretty cool. I mean, yeah, so I guess we can all agree that a lot of you will most likely get her, so that's good. Okay, now we're heading on to some bigger ones. How do you guys feel about this chump? Definitely army building them, says LA. Spectac says, I prefer the same blue. The retro color change is what kept me from troop building with the female Crimson Guard. Benedict says, I passed out. Oh no, were you drunk too? We had a lot of people that was drunk tonight. So if you guys didn't see my previous SHARKNEWZ video where I did a comparison about the Falcon figures, I think maybe then you'll understand why I'm still disappointed in this figure. Yes, the figure does look better. Yes, it's camoed. It's a little bit more accurate. But it's still not the Falcon that I want, unfortunately. And then somebody said that it's more cartoon compared to the actual O-ring version, so I gotta check my comparisons on that, so don't quote me on that. LA says, hell nah. Zed Burns says, Falcon is still a chump. Liquid Identity says, boring Falcon, he's always boring. Alan Balcom with the thumbs down. Ford says, Matt Damon. Derek Holloman says, so much better. So Derek Holloman is the only one at the moment that likes it, I guess. Timothy James says 50-50. LA says good fodder though. Alan says nope. Roy Galloway says, why another Falcon? Why another Falcon? Oh man, the first one was abysmal. that Falcon figure was like it was ass. um, it was probably one. It's. I think that first Falcon is probably considered the worst classified figure to exist at the moment. I don't think there's anything as bad as that one. Um, but I do agree with what Spectac says. At this point, that's the best Falcon that we're gonna get. So no toy line deserves more than 3 Falcons. Because we did get the NIGHTFORCE Falcon, which is probably the best one, but it's NIGHTFORCE, so it's also a different design. So that version of Falcon is basically a new Falcon head sculpt on an Outback body, versus this one is a big head Falcon on, I think, a flint legs, different arms, but the same torso. Because look, the Joe Pro is still there on the shoulder, as I mentioned in the previous other video. So it's like they couldn't just give us a different like harness or something. I fail to see. Like, I give them credit for giving us like the camo and the browns and greens, like that's cool, but man, I'm not sold on this guy at all. It's very sad. I was really looking forward to it, but I can't. I still, especially because the Joe Pro is still there too. Falcon first release was a total debacle, better than the rest. I had the first one and his face was appalling, says Roy Galloway. His incompetence was why Duke got shot. Well, let's also put it this way. Let's do a Falcon history, shall we? And I'm going off the top of my head. Here we have this character newly introduced to the G.I. Joes. He was completely an idiot. He invited a non authorized human into the G.I. Joe headquarters, which technically was Zarana, but you get the point. He didn't know. He wasn't taking his duty seriously. He got so many G.I. Joes injured. Serpentor escaped. Duke got shot because of him. The headquarters got destroyed again for the second time because of Falcon. And then, not sure he saved the day, but then in the Deke series, he became a drug addict and got kicked out of G.I. Joe. So you tell me why this guy is not a chump. Because, like, there's nothing redeeming about this guy, unfortunately. All right, but anyway, so that's the, as Beachhead says, the goofball Lieutenant Falcon, whatever. So yeah, as Spectac again says, it's the best we're gonna get. So Joshua says, I think most Falcon fans are fans from the comic book and not the cartoon. Oh man, yeah. I mean, but then again, let's be honest. The Joe team is heavily focusing a lot more on the actual figures in the comics. Like they will pull out references from comics and stuff, but they're not fully focused on the comics. So they're focused more on the O-rings, which is, it is what it is. You're making me like him even more. Hey man, more the merrier. If you like it, that's great. Kubaz says meh. All right. So let's move on because I don't want to take too much time from you guys, but we still got a few more things to talk about. Let's talk about finally, ladies and gentlemen, we are completing the original 13, roughly. How do you guys feel about Tom Cruise? Prefer Meredith? So it's basically Grand Slam, but this is Flash, and we all know that Grand Slam and Flash are basically two of the same figures, same outfit and whatnot, which only means that we're going to be getting a silver padded Grand Slam at some point with the jump, I'm sure, hopefully. But the fact that we're officially completing the original 13, like, I think the Joe team was probably like, yeah, we're like, you've bothered us for like 4 years to give us, the original 13, so now we're finally giving it to you, so shut up. Because they kind of teased Flash just a little bit when they revealed Glenda, part of the HasLab Dragonfly, where Lenny was like, "Oh yeah, Glenda has same weapons as Flash, etc." So I think that was kind of the hint at that point. Mad that he is a retro. This is the real reason I'm having to collect retros to get Flash. Yeah, let me ask you guys in the chat. Do you guys know, like, if okay, for you inbox collectors, does it bother you that Flash is retro and he's not part of the standard like packaging, or do you just not care about it and just want your original 13 to be done with? LA says yeah. Derek says hell yeah. LA says comics, he was a pretty boy as long as he's not tiny Tom Cruise. Alan says mad. Oh, I just read that. Russell says finally. Ford says Grossman. Timothy says 8.5. Zed says now I feel like they need to put out a Manta. Killa says good, great, grand, wonderful. BD Bonsai says 65 likes. Okay. I don't have any stream like goals for today because it is a Sunday, so I'm letting it flow as as many likes we get. That's great. It is a Sunday. People also got things to do, so Derek says I don't mind the retros. I don't keep boxes. Killa says I want unclassified. Ellie says no, I do both inbox and open box. Zed Burn says I lean more towards liking the retro line. Well, they are course correcting a lot. They're focusing a lot more on retro. So, you know, I still think they could have done both options, but it's fine. Joshua says, does anyone here strictly keep mint in box? I'm sure there's still quite a few collectors even on this channel that are mint in box. I know Couch Boy is a mint in box collector, but he's not on tonight's stream. I'm perfectly fine with him being retro. Suzuki says I'm liking the retro card backs. I'm cool with me. I mean, yeah, I mean they're very nostalgic. Don't get me wrong. They do look very cool. It's just, you know, I just kind of feel bad for like the inbox collectors where certain figure like it would have looked really cool if all the original 13 had the same packaging. That's basically my point. So the fact that they're not, then it's like you have some retro packaging, some classified big boxes, and then, you know, because they changed the layout of the boxes or the designs of it quite a few times in our collecting days. So box retro man inbox do you? So we can all pretty much agree that Flash was, you know, heavily. I mean, he's not up for pre-order yet, but we can all agree that Flash is going to be the, you know, a very hard-hitting, definitely gonna get this. You know, everyone's gonna get him. Who like definitely can't pass up on this guy, right? Like it doesn't make any sense to pass on Flash. So yeah, we can move on because we already know Flash is definitely the most popular, at least of the four renders that we got so far. Now let's move on to NIGHTFORCE PSYCHEOUT. This was a figure that was supposed to be revealed during the last day of YOJOEJUNE, the last fan stream, but I guess they forgot, and then so they posted it the next day. Yeah, it's a little bit different compared to the O-ring, which is fine. It's just one of the things that I find fascinating about this figure is that I guess he's supposed to be fighting the Dire Tech figures that are the green translucent ones. So I think the NIGHTFORCE characters are kind of probably going to be at war with the Dire Techs now, like Crystal Ball, Ghost Viper, and the Night Creeper. Because you can see here he has like those. So what I find funny, and I don't know if you guys saw this, but I feel like this is their version of creating that Crimson whatever character from Valaverse. That guy that character that also looks like Snake Eyes, but it has like the red circular shield kind of thing. I feel like this is kind of their version of doing that, at least with those red with this red shield, that thing that we see on the left. Otherwise, this PSYCHEOUT figure is pretty cool. I'll give them that. The art on the retro Flint is horrible. The only ones I keep in mint box are exclusives. That's very valid, miss. Zedburn says, yeah, the era consistent packaging would have been a nice touch. Alan says, that's my point, as well as even though some of the OG13s have been linked to vehicles, it's not an individual box. Russell says, my figures need to breathe. I agree. Alan says, all my figures are mint in box, and I have 2 full sets. BD Bonsai says, surprisingly digging it more and more. Yep, me too. I love NIGHTFORCE. I think, as I said before, NIGHTFORCE is my favorite sub-team. I think all the NIGHTFORCE characters have been pretty good so far. I don't think I have any complaints about NIGHTFORCE, surprisingly. I mean, I might like some more than others, but as a group though, I think they're killing NIGHTFORCE right now. Like, they're doing a really good job. I'm iffy on this one, but I have the NIGHTFORCE figure, says Derek. Timothy says, I'm liking it. Not bad at all. I would buy this figure. Alan says, I love it so much. Wait, I love this such. What I want him. Liquid says, cartoony face, goofy character, retro, or bust. Yeah. So, yeah, and I'm happy there's no knee pads on this guy, and you guys know how I feel about that. Spectac one says, they're toys. They're meant to be played with. I mean, yeah. I mean, I open all mine. I don't keep any in box, but I guess to each their own. I mean, if you keep in box, like, if that makes you happy, then sure. Like, as long as collecting makes you excited and makes you fun, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter if you're in box or out of box. If you eat your figures, doesn't matter. As long as you enjoy it, that's all that matters. So I guess we'll come back to these digital renders when they give us official product shots, because again, like, you know, we always circle back to these characters again at some point. So that was the NIGHTFORCE PSYCHEOUT. Pretty cool. I guess we can all agree that it's pretty decent. It grows on some people. Some people have to figure it out later, but it's fine. But now we have the wild card, which is Tomb Raider. How do you guys feel about Lara Croft's Tomb Raider? The character may be after my time of playing with Joe, so I don't know much about him. I remember the name though. Yeah, I mean, PSYCHEOUT came out a little bit later, and plus he had, I think, 2 or 3 different versions. So I do like the blue one. Alan says, see, my collection would make you twitchy. Joshua says, if I get him, I'll have to pick up NIGHTFORCE Tunnel Rat since he's the only one I'm missing. Oh boy. Killa says meh. Alan says nope. Derek says looks cool but not my thing. Liquid says price will be too high but it looks great. I want Lara's outfit in the future, but this is a promo for the game. Yeah. I think she'll probably be the same as Action Man. Probably like the $40, $43 price range. I'm guessing. So it seems like that way, because look at all the accessories she come with. I think it wouldn't be anything less than 35. She definitely has to be a $40 figure, 40 to 45 at most. If she's 50, I think that's probably the max they would shove down our throats. But I think 43, 45 is probably the most I'm going to assume she's going to be worth. Let's see here. So she's got a small backpack. She's got the quiver bag that we've seen before. Alpine's weapons, some other weapons we've seen before. The handle, I think that came with Hit and Run. I could be wrong, but I think that's it. Head sculpt looks good though. Russell says I want her. Liquid says, but what about the face? Spectac says PSYCHEOUT came out just in time for me to take an interest in girls. Ooh. Never got him. Joshua says she's less top heavy than traditional Lara. I mean, unless you want to have like polygon chest, but at least, you know, at least it's something compared to nothing. So it is what it is. I mean, Miss says Lara, give her to me now. Well, let me ask you guys in the chat, what other figures would you want the G.I. Joe classified team to collab with? I think it would be a missed opportunity to not do Metal Gear Solid. Snake, I think they should do... They can't do Splinter Cell, or maybe they can, but Valaverse already called shots on that, so Valaverse is doing his Splinter Cell figure. I think that's coming out in December or something, so that would just, like... That would, you know... Yeah, so I think just other than I think yeah, Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid would be ideal. Or Nathan Drake from Uncharted. Yeah, those two. I think those are my only two wish list would be Solid Snake and Nathan Drake from Uncharted. Those two would be ideal for classified. Liquid says no more collabs. I don't care. Suzuki says 30 tops for me. Alan says no more collabs. Timothy says Mask. Mask is like completely overdue, man. I don't know what the hell is taking them so long. It's such an easy money factor, man. Like Matt Tracker, T-Bob, give us Miles Mayhem. Come on, like they're not even like the most detailed looking figures. It wouldn't take them, it wouldn't cost them that much to make Mask figures, and there's not even a lot of characters either. Same thing with Visionaries. They could literally eliminate all the visionary characters in one, like in probably 2 years, because there's 14 in total, unless you want to count the old man Merkel and the wizard. But like there's 14 spectral knights, and then the other guys I forgot the names, the Dark Lord, Darkling, Dark whatever the hell they're called. Yeah, but Tiger Force, Super Mario for the win. Indiana Jones, yeah, okay, Indiana Jones would be great, says Killa. I agree with that one too. Russell says, exactly. Zed Burns says, Shark, what about the Cyborg Ninja or Revolver Ocelot? Yeah, yeah, Cyborg Ninja would be cool. What is his name? The guy with the white hair from Metal Gear Solid. Whoa, what the hell was his name? I totally forgot. I apologize. Paul Bob, welcome to the chat, says, what up? How's it going, Paul? Thank you so much for joining. Oh, Raiden. His name is, yes, thank you, Liquid. Yeah. Thank you. Raiden. Killzone, Soldier, good call, Metal Gear, says Chris Oliver, welcome. Spectac says, after that video Hasbro dropped a few weeks ago, I want to see a gem in the hologram. They could do gem. Dude, there's so many Hasbro properties, like, I mean, granted that not a lot of people would be interested in, like, gem per se, but they could do gem. Why not? Alright, but anyways, that's Lara Croft. We should see more official product shots for her at this year's San Diego Comic-Con. Pre-orders for this girl would be July 23rd, but I'll have more updates as time goes on, because I'm sure they're going to give us more updates about her as, you know, as the weeks come, because now we're almost heading to the road to San Diego Comic-Con. Yay! So we should see better images of this girl. And I don't know what it takes to get into the Hasbro breakfast on Thursdays at San Diego Comic-Con, but I guess, you know, a lot of YouTubers, influencers get there. So, interesting. Will Shark ever go? I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, it would be cool one day in the future, for sure. All right, so that was Tomb Raider. We'll talk more about her as we get closer to Comic-Con. Then we have the coming soon portion, which is really not too much, but I really want to see your thoughts, or read your thoughts about these three, because we eliminated a lot off this list. So how do you guys feel about either the Crimson Snake Armor, Footloose and Mutton Junkyard, the Mad Marauders 2-pack, or the Triple T Tank? Joshua says, Visionaries video made me want to revisit the property. I barely remember it. Joshua, check out my Visionaries animated series review. You might like that. I actually like the Visionaries cartoon, man. It was only like 13 episodes. Really cool. It's a good show. Good story. Right off the bat, like, I'll tell you, I'm not a Mad Marauders person, so don't really care. Crimson Snake Armor, that came out way too soon. I was really expecting them to do a blue one, but a crimson one. That's just kind of greedy right there. And then Triple T Tank is definitely probably the best reveal at the moment, or announcement. Liquid says another Sarge. Just kidding. I don't care for any of this. LA says I want them. I need those ASAP. I like the Marauders. BD Bonsai says Visionaries cartoon is a sleeper. Ooh. Alan says Amazon Prime deals were a bust. Killa says Mad Marauders great sub team. Don't dig the colors. I mean, there are a few other characters part of Mad Marauders, but the essential 5 or 6, I forgot. They're pretty much going to be complete. So I'm glad we can finally get rid of the Mad Marauders. I mean, again, there's more on the roster, but at least the essentials, like, we'll get these out of the way. Alan says, are they doing Footloose and Mutton Junkyard retros? I don't think these are retros because they're the sub teams. So I think sub teams are more because who was the other one? Spirit and Lowlight, they were regular. Barbecue was regular, and then Sergeant Slaughter was regular. So these two have to be the regular ones. No, I got you, BD Bonsai. Bring on the Triple T Tank. I'm very curious because I think at this point they're probably going to do the Sergeant Slaughter with the USA on him. I think that's the only way, because if they do a Sergeant Slaughter with the black T, then I think that would suck. Or it might be an incentive, because for those who never got the original first version, but the first Sergeant Slaughter was as iconic as it gets. The one that came with Mercer in a 2-pack didn't really need, so that kind of sucked. But I think this Sergeant Slaughter with the Triple T Tank, if he comes with one, I think it's definitely going to be the USA. And if I'm proven wrong, then I'm probably going to riot, but it's fine. Solo Sinner, haven't seen you in a long time. What's going on, brother? Says, agree, Visionaries was dope as fuck. Yeah, agree. It's such a really good story, because think about it. Visionaries' storyline was about the planet of Prismos, which is wherever the hell they lived on, and then they heavily relied on technology, and then technology basically collapsed on them because they were so dependent on technology that when everything crashed, they didn't have technology anymore. So what they ended up doing was that they had to go way back to this old goof off wizard named Merkelin, and then they had to get the magical what do you call it, the magic. They had to use sorcery in order to get plants and crops and fruits and all that stuff, which is very cool, because in 2026 we're heavily relied on technology, right? So if technology crashed, like, what would we all do? So I think Visionaries was way ahead of the game. So yeah. Anyways, Craig says, oh, Craig, welcome to the chat. He says, YOJOEJUNE, thank you for all your hard work keeping us updated this entire month. Much appreciated. Thank you so much, Craig, for that very nice shark emojis and comments. I really do appreciate that, brother. Thank you so much for even supporting the channel, for being here. I had a blast with this YOJOEJUNE, man. It was great. I found the original Triple T Tank at an antique shop last week and bought it for $10, but bad condition. I passed on it. Oh. Chris Oliver says, Triple T with the USA tank top. I'm in, but would like another new Renegade. Ooh. Chris Oliver comes with a good point. Would you guys be open to have a brand new Renegade to be added to the roster, or would you guys want a Sergeant Slaughter with the USA on it? That's very, very valid. That's a valid a new Renegade. That would be interesting. How would they do a new Renegade? Yeah, that would be really cool. Like some cool buff dude. Yeah, I would like that. So yeah, it's 1 second. So yeah, it's very unfortunate that this is all we have to look forward to for the coming soon portion. David says, "Hey Shark, still waiting on the Thunder Machine." Yeah, man, I think everyone is. Thunder Machine with Thrasher, if they ever do it, that would be great. Joshua says, "Any new Renegades or a new Marauder would be cool. Who would fit that Mad Marauder that wasn't?" Good question. Alan says, "Nah, to me the Renegades were just a 3. LA says, "When will the Footloose and We don't know yet, but we should see them probably at San Diego Comic-Con at some point. Maybe, yeah. All good, Russell. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. We are pretty much almost done here. Zed Burn says, "If I'm in the new Renegade looks," I think Russell Terrell is pretty much hungover at this point. Zed Burn says, "I'm in the new Renegade looks." Nice. So we will circle back to this coming soon portion soon. Otherwise, looking back at the 2026 lineup for now, here's all we know so far in terms of renders or the actual figures released. So starting from, let's do right to left. We have Tomb Raider, which is going to be going up for pre-order on July 23rd, according to the G.I. Joe socials. We have the 4 new retros, the 3 new retros, which is the Valkyrie, Falcon, and Flash, which is to be determined for pre-orders, but I'm sure it'll be soon. We have the NIGHTFORCE PSYCHEOUT, which will be a Walmart CollectorCon pre-order, which is, I believe, same time as Comic-Con, so that's probably July 23rd or 24th, around that time frame. Maybe the 25th, anywhere from there. Shipwreck, Cadet Deming, and the Fatal Fluffies are the San Diego Comic-Con exclusives, so we don't have to worry about that since we know that those are already the exclusives announced. So those will be eliminated by July 23rd or 24th. Then we have the Arctic 3-pack with Saw Viper, Drift Viper, and the Steel Core figure, which is still to be determined. We still don't have a pre-order for those just yet, but it's rumored that those are going to be $100. Let's wait and see. And then we have the Arctic Driver with the made-to-order HISS tank, which is late November, probably early December, or sometime earlier in November. Who knows? It could come out sooner than we think. And then last but not least, we have the HasLab Snowcat, which we will eliminate next month in July, as we should see people start getting notifications that they're being shipped hopefully by the end of July, early August, or sometime in July or August. So the HasLab Snowcat figures we're going to eliminate by next month, which is great. And as well as the Fatal Fluffy and Shipwreck and Cadet Deming, because everyone else is kind of up in the air at the moment. Oh no, we'll eliminate Tomb Raider and PSYCHEOUT. So yeah, we're going to eliminate a whole bunch of figures off this list, which is going to be great. I can't wait. So yeah, otherwise, yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. That was a pretty long and lengthy live stream. I'm definitely hit the 2-hour mark, so that's a lot, and my throat hurts. So thank you to everybody who joined tonight's stream Sunday. I really do appreciate it. I'm sure we'll see a HasLab unboxing later this week, probably, because June isn't technically over yet. Otherwise, we might see it in July, but I think they'll save it for June. So stay tuned for another Shark News video talking about the HasLab Snowcat unboxing if they do one. And then we'll eliminate a lot of these figures off the list in July, which will be really exciting. So Alan says you're missing Hooded Cobra Commander. No, I eliminated those off the list. Once you're pre-ordered, then I eliminate off the list. But anyways, thank you guys all for watching. Be sure to give a like on this video. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for spending freaking 2 hours with me. Holy shit, on this Sunday. I really do appreciate it. And Sunder Ganesan, welcome to the chat. Thank you so much for joining. Have a great night. I apologize for leaving, Sunder, man. But have a great night, everybody. Have a blessed week and stay cool. It's going to be freaking hot. We're hitting 100s all next week, tomorrow 90s and 100s. So I'm going to be melting like crazy. Till then, stay tuned for more Shark News videos. I will have a Shark News short video probably in the next couple of days, so stay tuned for that. And otherwise, yeah, stay tuned for more Shark News videos, and I'll see you guys all in the next episode. And thank you for supporting the channel. Have a great night. And for all of you that were watching that were not in the chat, thank you. And for those that were in the chat, thank you as well. And all the channel donations, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. You really made my Sunday awesome. Till then, have a great week, and I'll see you all in the next update.